Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! The bitter taste of eviction lingered like a persistent shadow as Jason stared at the bleak piece of paper on his door. It was a cruel reminder of his impending homelessness, especially after calling apartment 303 home for years. This humble one-bedroom sanctuary had witnessed his triumph through college and the early days of his career, yet the harsh reality of financial instability now threatened to cast him out. In the wake of this somber discovery, Jason's frustration took hold. He crushed the notice in his fist, tossing it aside in a futile, act of rebellion. His usually neat brown hair fell forward as he dropped onto the couch, revealing the strain of this new development. The apartment buzzer interrupted his spiral of self-pity. "Coming!" he called, trudging to the intercom.
"Mr. Miller, it's Ms. Thompson. We need to talk."
His landlady. Perfect, because this day needed to get worse. Jason buzzed her in, frantically kicking dirty clothes under the couch and clearing takeout containers from the coffee table. He opened the door just as Vivian Thompson reached the landing, immaculately dressed in a cream blouse and navy slacks, despite the summer heat. Her silver-streaked dark hair was pulled back in its usual elegant knot. "Ms. Thompson, I was going to call you." "I imagine you were," she said, stepping past him into the apartment. Her eyes took in the state of the place with clinical detachment. "I received your partial payment. That's the second month in a row." "I know, and I'm sorry. I lost my job at Nexus Tech when they went under. I've been interviewing, but the rental market doesn't care about your circumstances, Mr. Miller." She walked to the window, looking out at the cityscape beyond.
"Neither does my mortgage company." "I understand. I just need a little more time."
Ms. Thompson turned, studying him with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. She was in her late 40s, owned the entire 6-unit building, and had a reputation for being fair but inflexible on matters of business. "How much savings do you have left?" she asked bluntly. Jason hesitated. "Enough for maybe another week of groceries. Not enough for rent." "And your job prospects?" "I've got a third interview at DataWare next week that looks promising." She nodded, walking slowly around the living room, touching a framed photograph here, a book there. "I have a proposition for you, Mr. Miller." Hope flickered. "I'm listening." "I need help maintaining this building. My previous handyman retired to Florida last month. The gardens need tending, the common areas require daily cleaning, and I have administrative work that's piling up." She paused. "I also have the vacant unit downstairs that needs repainting and minor repairs." "Are you offering me a job?" "Of sorts. Room and board in exchange for service." She smiled thinly. "Though not quite as a handyman." "I don't understand." Ms. Thompson sat primly on the edge of his armchair. "I need a live-in assistant. Someone to cook, clean, run errands, handle correspondence, and generally maintain my household while I focus on my real estate investments." "Like a butler?" "Like a maid, Mr. Miller. A lady's maid, to be precise." Jason stared at her, certain he'd misheard. "A maid?" "Yes. You would live in my private quarters on the ground floor, rent-free, of course, and fulfill these duties. In return, your current debt would be forgiven, and you would have a stable living situation while you continue your job search." "But I'm not... don't maids usually..."
"Usually women? Yes.
And that is precisely what you would present as while in my employ." The statement hung in the air between them. Jason's mouth opened and closed several times before he managed to speak.
You want me to dress as a woman? To be your maid?
Precisely. Ms. Thompson didn't blink. I find it creates the proper dynamic, and I found that men who are willing to embrace such an arrangement tend to be more attentive to detail in their service.
This is crazy,
Jason muttered, running a hand through his messy brown hair. Is it? You need housing and can't afford rent. I need household help and prefer not to bring strangers into my home. This arrangement solves both problems. She stood, straightening her blouse. The choice is yours, of course. You can vacate by the end of the week as legally required, or you can move into my quarters tomorrow and begin your new position. Would anyone know it was me? The building residents would be told I've hired a new live-in maid named Emiliana. Your, shall we say, previous identity would remain private. Emiliana. She'd already picked out a name for him. I don't know the first thing about being a maid, or dressing like a woman. I will provide the uniform and necessary guidance. Ms. Thompson handed him a business card. My private number. Let me know your decision by morning. I have alternative candidates to interview if you decline. She left without another word, the door clicking shut behind her with terrible finality. Jason spent the night pacing, making lists of pros and cons, calling the few friends who might be able to offer temporary housing. None could help for more than a night or two. By 3 a.m., staring at his bank balance and the stack of rejection emails from job applications, the decision crystallized from desperation. At 7 a.m., he texted Ms. Thompson. I accept your offer. Her reply came immediately. Excellent. Bring only your personal items and toiletries. Everything else will be provided. Move in at 10 a.m. Jason packed his laptop, phone, toiletries, and a few personal mementos into a single duffel bag. Looking around the apartment that had been his home, he felt a strange detachment. This chapter was ending in a way he could never have predicted. At precisely 10 a.m., he knocked on Ms. Thompson's private entrance at the rear of the building. She answered promptly, now dressed in a simple but elegant black dress. Right on time? A good start? She ushered him into a spacious apartment that was easily 3 times the size of his upstairs unit. Gleaming hardwood floors, tasteful antique furniture, and soft lighting created an atmosphere of understated luxury. Your quarters are through here. She led him down a hallway to a small but comfortable bedroom with an attached bathroom. You may arrange your personal items as you wish, but understand that I will inspect regularly to ensure proper order is maintained.
Yes, ma'am,
Jason said, the formality feeling strange on his tongue. That's appropriate address, yes. Ms. Thompson opened a closet door. Your uniforms. Inside hung several identical outfits, pink satin dresses with white lace-trimmed aprons, each accompanied by white stockings. On the closet floor sat several pairs of black Mary Jane shoes with modest heels. You expect me to wear those? Every day?
While on duty, yes, which will be from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. daily, with Sundays half-days.
She pulled one uniform out. This should fit. You're quite slim. Go change, then meet me in the kitchen for your first lessons. Alone in the bathroom, Jason held up the pink uniform, reality crashing down on him. Was he really going to do this? The alternative, homeless, broke, with diminishing job prospects, flashed through his mind. He began to undress. The uniform was complicated, with buttons and ties he struggled to master. The stockings were even worse, rolling and bunching despite his careful attempts. When he finally emerged, tugging at the skirt that felt too short and the bodice that fit too snugly, Ms. Thompson was waiting with a critical eye. Acceptable for a first attempt, she said, circling him. The wig is on the vanity. Put it on, and I'll show you how to secure it properly. The wig was brown like his natural hair, but longer, falling in soft waves to just below his shoulders. Ms. Thompson demonstrated how to tuck his real hair under a cap before applying the wig, then showed him how to use pins to secure it. There, she said, turning him to face a full-length mirror. Meet Emiliana. The person staring back was both himself and a stranger. The pink uniform with its white apron created an unmistakably feminine silhouette, while the brown wig softened his features in a way he hadn't expected. Without makeup or any other alterations, he already looked different. Not convincingly female, but no longer fully himself either.
I look ridiculous,
he muttered. You look like a maid who needs makeup lessons, Ms. Thompson corrected. Which we'll address tomorrow. Today, you learn your duties. What followed was an exhaustive orientation to his new role. Ms. Thompson showed him how to properly dust surfaces, vacuum without leaving marks on the hardwood, clean bathrooms to her exacting standards, and organize her extensive library according to her precise system. By midday, his feet hurt from the unfamiliar shoes, and his back ached from the new postures required for his tasks. Now for lunch preparation, Ms. Thompson announced, leading him to the kitchen. I take a light lunch at 1 p.m. precisely. Today's menu is a spinach salad with grilled chicken and a lemon vinaigrette.
I don't really cook,
Jason admitted. Then you will learn. Cooking, cleaning, laundry, correspondence, appointment management. These are your new skills, Emiliana. She emphasized the feminine name. From now on, even in private, I will address you as such. You will respond to that name, speak in a softer register, and carry yourself as befits your position. For how long? Until I find a new job? That depends on how well you perform these duties, doesn't it? She handed him an apron. Begin with the vinaigrette. The recipe is in that binder. Days passed in a blur of new routines and skills. Jason, now answering to Emiliana without hesitation, learned to prepare Ms. Thompson's preferred meals, to properly iron her clothing, to answer the phone in a soft, feminine voice, and to apply basic makeup under her tutelage. The uniform became less uncomfortable, though never quite natural, and he developed a certain pride in mastering tasks that had once seemed foreign. 2 weeks into the arrangement, Ms. Thompson presented him with a shopping bag. Your day uniform is satisfactory for household duties, she said. But when you accompany me on errands or to appointments, you'll need something more appropriate. Inside the bag, Emiliana found several modest dresses in pastel colors, a light cardigan, and a pair of low-heeled pumps. No hint of masculine clothing anywhere. You expect me to wear these outside? In public? Of course. A lady doesn't bring her maid along in uniform. That would be gauche. Ms. Thompson's expression remained impassive. Your makeup has improved sufficiently, and your voice work is progressing. With the right presentation, no one will look twice. I don't think I can, Emiliana whispered, fingering the soft fabric of a pale blue dress. You will find, my dear, that necessity makes many things possible. Ms. Thompson checked her watch. We leave for my dermatologist appointment at 3. The blue dress, I think, with the white cardigan. Practice your walk until then. That first public outing remained a blur in Emiliana's memory afterward. The terror of being seen, the way her hands trembled as she held Ms. Thompson's purse, the shocked realization that most people barely glanced at her. Those who did simply saw a quiet young woman accompanying an older lady, nothing more. As weeks stretched into a month, then 2, subtle changes took root. Emiliana's movements became more fluid, less angular. The brown wig felt less like a costume and more like a natural extension of herself. She developed preferences among her growing wardrobe, favoring the sky blue summer dress with its delicate white belt over the pink sundress, appreciating how the forest green pencil skirt accentuated the curves that daily exercise routines, another of Ms. Thompson's requirements, were gradually enhancing. Ms. Thompson noticed these changes with quiet approval.
"Your transformation is progressing nicely,"
she observed one evening as Emiliana served dinner.
"You've lost that stiffness in your movements."
"Thank you, ma'am." The higher, softer voice now came naturally, requiring no conscious effort. "I've disposed of the men's clothing you brought with you," Ms. Thompson continued, cutting into her chicken. "It seemed unnecessary to keep it." Emiliana froze, water pitcher in hand. "You did what?" "Your old clothes. They were taking up space, and you haven't worn them since arriving. I donated them yesterday." But those were mine. My things." A tremor entered Emiliana's voice. "You had no right." "I had every right." Ms. Thompson's tone remained calm. "Our arrangement grants me authority over your presentation while in my employ. Those clothes represented a person who no longer exists in this household." "Jason still exists! I'm still me underneath all this!" Emiliana gestured at the pale yellow dress she wore.
"Are you?"
Ms. Thompson set down her cutlery. "Tell me honestly, when you look in the mirror now, who do you see first? Jason or Emiliana?" The question struck like a physical blow. Emiliana couldn't answer immediately because the truth was too confusing to articulate. Each morning, the person in the mirror looked more natural, more right somehow, than the memory of the disheveled man in jeans and t-shirts. "I don't know," she finally whispered. "I think you do." Ms. Thompson resumed eating. "You may take tomorrow afternoon off. Use the credit card I've provided to purchase any additional items you feel would enhance your wardrobe. Consider it a bonus for 3 months of excellent service." That night, alone in her room, Emiliana opened her laptop for the first time in weeks and checked her email. The job search she'd once pursued so diligently had fallen by the wayside as her new role consumed her attention. There, buried among newsletters and promotional offers, was an email from DataWare, the company where she'd had that promising third interview just before accepting Ms. Thompson's offer. They wanted to offer Jason Miller a position as a junior systems analyst. The salary was substantial, the benefits excellent. They apologized for the delay in their decision and hoped he was still available. The email was dated 2 weeks ago. Emiliana stared at the screen, emotions warring within her. This was what Jason had wanted: financial stability, professional recognition, a return to normalcy. Yet something held her back from immediately drafting an acceptance response. She closed the laptop without replying and went to her vanity, studying her reflection. The brown hair framed a face that now looked naturally feminine, with subtle makeup enhancing rather than creating the effect. Her skin was softer from the rigorous skincare routine Ms. Thompson had instituted. Her body had changed too. Daily yoga and portion-controlled meals had reshaped her figure into something more slender, more graceful. Who would be sitting at that desk at DataWare? Jason in his hastily purchased men's suit, or Emiliana pretending to be someone she no longer recognized? Sleep came fitfully that night, dreams mixing past and present identities in confusion. The next morning, Ms. Thompson noticed her distraction. Something troubling you, Emiliana? I received a job offer yesterday. From before all this. She gestured to encompass her current appearance. Today, a modest cream blouse tucked into a navy blue skirt with pearl earrings Ms. Thompson had given her last week. A good position, the one I was hoping for. I see. Ms. Thompson sipped her tea thoughtfully. And you wish to accept it? I don't know what I wish anymore. A common dilemma when one stands at a crossroads. The older woman set down her cup. Let me clarify something about our arrangement, something I perhaps should have made explicit earlier. Emiliana waited, heart pounding. Your service as my maid was never meant to be permanent. It was a solution to an immediate problem, your financial crisis, my need for assistance. That you have excelled in the role is gratifying, but changes nothing about its temporary nature. So, you want me to leave? To take the job? I want you to make a choice based on your authentic self, not on obligation to me or to some outdated concept of who you should be. Ms. Thompson's gaze was penetrating. Who are you now, after these months? Who do you wish to be going forward? I don't know if I can go back, Emiliana admitted softly. To being him, it feels wrong somehow, like putting on someone else's skin. Then perhaps you shouldn't try. But the job... There are many jobs, my dear. The question is which life you wish to build around whichever one you choose. That afternoon, instead of shopping as planned, Emiliana visited a cafe several blocks from the building. She ordered a latte and sat by the window, observing the world outside as a spectator might. People passed on the sidewalk, women in business attire, mothers with children, students with backpacks, all moving through their lives with purpose. What was her purpose? Who was she becoming? The barista who brought her drink smiled warmly. Love your earrings, she said. Pearls are so classic. Thank you, Emiliana replied, the feminine voice now so natural she no longer had to think about it. You waiting for someone? You've been checking your phone. Just making a decision. The barista nodded sympathetically. Those can be tough. My grandma always said when you're stuck, flip a coin, not to let chance decide, but because in the moment it's in the air, you suddenly know which side you're hoping for. Emiliana smiled. Smart grandma. When the barista moved on to other customers, Emiliana opened her email and began to type a response to dataware. Her fingers hesitated over the keys as she considered her words carefully. Thank you for your generous offer. After careful consideration, I must decline at this time as my career path has taken an unexpected but rewarding turn. I wish your company continued success. She signed it simply J. Miller and hit send before she could second-guess herself. The weight that lifted from her shoulders told her everything she needed to know about her decision. She paid for her coffee and walked to a boutique she'd noticed on her way to the cafe. Inside, she browsed racks of professional women's clothing, blazers, blouses, tailored pants. A sales associate approached. Can I help you find something? Yes, Emiliana said with newfound certainty. I need to build a professional wardrobe. I'm starting a new career path. Wonderful. What field? Administrative management to start. But I have skills in organization, systems analysis, and project coordination that I'd like to develop. The associate helped her select several versatile pieces, a charcoal gray pantsuit, 3 silk blouses in complementary colors, a pencil skirt in black, and a burgundy blazer that the associate insisted brought out warm highlights in her brown hair. In the dressing room, trying on these clothes that were neither Jason's casual attire nor the maid uniforms and feminine dresses Ms. Thompson had provided, Emiliana felt something click into place. This was something she was choosing for herself, a new identity that honored the journey she'd been on. When she returned to the apartment, arms laden with shopping bags, Ms. Thompson was in the living room reviewing property documents. "Productive afternoon?" she asked, glancing up. "Very." Emiliana set down her purchases. "I made some decisions." "I see that." Ms. Thompson gestured to the bags with their boutique logos. "Care to elaborate?" "I declined the job offer." Emiliana sat across from her employer, back straight, hands folded in her lap as she'd been taught. "But I've decided it's time to find my own path forward. As Emiliana." Ms. Thompson's expression revealed nothing. "And what path might that be?" "I'd like to continue working for you, if you'll have me. But not as a maid, as an administrative assistant or property manager. I have skills that could benefit your business beyond household duties." "Bold," Ms. Thompson murmured, but a hint of approval colored her tone. "What prompted this evolution?" "You did, partly. These past months have shown me I'm capable of more adaptation than I ever imagined, and I've learned a lot about your real estate holdings while organizing your paperwork. I think I could contribute value in that arena." "And the other part? What else prompted this?" Emiliana chose her words carefully. "Realizing that what began as necessity has become authentic. This isn't a costume for me anymore. It's who I am now, or who I want to be, but on my own terms." Ms. Thompson studied her for a long moment, then closed the folder she'd been reviewing. "I've been considering hiring an assistant to help manage the 3 new properties I acquired last month. The position would come with a proper salary, benefits, and continued accommodation here, though we'd need to renegotiate the terms." "That sounds ideal." "It won't be easy. You'll need proper identification, professional credentials in your new name, a plausible background story. The world can be unkind to those in transition." "I understand, but I've been living as Emiliana for months now. Making it official seems like the natural next step." "Very well." Ms. Thompson extended her hand. "Consider yourself hired, Ms. Miller. We'll begin the formal paperwork tomorrow." "Thank you, Ms. Thompson." Emiliana shook her hand, feeling the surreal nature of the moment. "May I ask you something personal?" "You may ask. I may choose not to answer." "Why did you really offer me this arrangement initially? It wasn't just about needing household help." Ms. Thompson's composed exterior softened slightly. "Let's just say you're not the first person I've helped find their true self through unconventional means. My sister traveled a similar path many years ago, though with considerably less support than I've provided you." "Oh." Understanding dawned. "Is she happy?" "Yes, very. She lives in Portland now, runs a successful graphic design firm. Perhaps you'll meet her someday." Ms. Thompson stood. "Now, I believe it's time for dinner preparation. Your new position officially begins next Monday, which means you're still my maid until then." "Of course, ma'am." Emiliana rose, smoothing her skirt. "I've planned a roasted vegetable risotto for this evening." "Perfect. And Emiliana?" "Yes?" "That burgundy blazer was an excellent choice. It suits you." 6 months later, Emiliana Miller sat at her desk in the small office adjacent to Ms. Thompson's larger one, reviewing applications for the vacant apartment on the 3rd floor. Her old apartment, though it seemed like a lifetime ago. Her brown hair, grown out now to match the length of the wig she no longer needed, was pulled back in a professional chignon. She wore a cream blouse with a subtle floral pattern and the burgundy blazer that had become something of a signature piece. On her desk sat a framed certification from a real estate management course she'd completed online, made out to Emiliana J. Miller. Beside it was a small potted orchid, a gift from Ms. Thompson when Emiliana secured her first property acquisition for the growing portfolio. The legal transition had been complicated, but manageable with the resources Ms. Thompson provided. A new driver's license with her true name and gender marker had arrived last week, the culmination of months of paperwork and appointments. Each official document that recognized Emiliana felt like another anchor, securing her to this life she'd chosen. Her phone rang, the direct line that only a few key contacts had. "Emiliana Miller speaking. How may I help you?"
Is this the same Emiliana who couldn't figure out how to tie an apron properly last year? The warm, teasing voice belonged to Rebecca Thompson, Ms. Thompson's sister, who had indeed visited from Portland and become something of a mentor. "The very same, though I've since mastered not only aprons but property tax assessments and tenant background checks." Emiliana smiled into the phone. "Are you calling about the conference next month?" "Indeed. Vivian mentioned you might be attending with her." "That's the plan. My first industry event." She tried to keep the nervousness from her voice. "You'll do splendidly. I've secured us a dinner reservation for the second night. Just us girls. I want to hear more about this property management software you've been implementing." After confirming details and exchanging pleasantries, Emiliana ended the call and returned to the applications. A notification popped up on her computer, a reminder for the weekly staff meeting with the building's new maintenance team. As she gathered her tablet and notes, Emiliana caught her reflection in the office window. The person looking back was confident, composed, at peace in a way Jason never had been. The pink maid uniform still hung in the back of her closet, a reminder of the strange, unexpected bridge that had carried her from one life to another. Sometimes she marveled at how a desperate decision made in financial crisis had revealed a truth she might otherwise never have discovered. Ms. Thompson appeared in the doorway, elegant as always, in a tailored pantsuit. "Ready, Emiliana? The contractors are waiting to discuss the renovation budget." "Absolutely." She stood, straightening her burgundy blazer. "I've prepared a counter-proposal that I think will save us considerably on materials without compromising quality." "Excellent. Lead the way." Emiliana stepped confidently into the hallway, her sensible heels clicking on the hardwood floors she once scrubbed on hands and knees. Her file folder held against her chest contained projections, budgets, and plans. A future she was building on her own terms, in her true identity. It wasn't the life she'd planned, but as she'd learned, sometimes the most unexpected paths led to exactly where you were meant to be all along.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!